Chapter 1: The Ember's Promise. The biting winter air, crisp, clean scent of pine and frozen earth, nipped at Jack's cheeks as he trudged through the fresh snowfall. The moon, a silver coin in the inky sky, cast long, distorted shadows of the frost-laden trees, transforming his backyard into a surreal, silent landscape. The back shed, a rustic structure smelling of sawdust and aged wood, held the fuel for the fireplace, a vital source of warmth against the encroaching cold. Jack's breath, a ghostly plume, mingled with the still air as he wrestled a heavy log into his arms. The rhythmic thump of his heart, constant companion, echoed the insistent beat of his dreams. He was Jack, a musician with a soul as raw and untamed as the melodies he crafted. His fingers, calloused from years of strumming guitar strings, ached with the cold, yet they held onto the promise of a future filled with music and adventure. The album, collection of his heart's deepest confessions, was ready to be unleashed upon the world. The tour, a sprawling odyssey across the country, was to be his grand debut, a chance to share his voice with the world. Inside his small, cluttered apartment, the air crackled with nervous energy. Instruments, their polished surfaces reflecting the dim lamplight, stood like silent sentinels. Half-packed suitcases, bursting with clothes and tour essentials, lay scattered across the floor, a testament to his impending departure. Jack's fingers danced across the worn keys of his keyboard, playing the last few chords of a song he was working on, but his mind wandered. He poured his soul into his demos, sending them out like messages in bottles, hoping they'd reach the right ears. The silence that followed, the polite rejections and the deafening lack of response, weighed heavily on him, threatening to extinguish the ember of his optimism. "This isn't going to work," he muttered, his voice thick with frustration. He ran a hand through his unruly hair, the weight of his aspirations pressing down like a physical burden. He was a dreamer, believer in the power of music, but even dreamers faced the harsh realities of the world. Then there was Mandy. She was a breath of fresh air, a kindred spirit who saw beyond the struggling musician to the artist within. Her eyes, warm and inviting, mirrored the adventurous spirit that burned in his own soul. She didn't play an instrument, but she possessed a deep appreciation for music, a silent understanding of the emotions that flowed through his melodies. More importantly, she shared his yearning for the open road, a desire to escape the confines of routine and embrace the freedom of a nomadic life. They'd spent hours poring over maps, tracing routes across the country, their imaginations painting vivid pictures of the landscapes they'd traverse. They envisioned a life on the road, a rolling sanctuary in a rented RV, a mobile studio where inspiration flowed as freely as the miles beneath their wheels. The RV would be their home, their refuge, a place where they could create, explore, and live life on their own terms. As they settled into bed that night, the promise of their adventure hung in the air, a silent vow against the cold. The warmth of the fireplace, a comforting glow in the dimly lit room, echoed the warmth of their burgeoning connection. They were two souls, drawn together by a shared dream, ready to embark on a journey that would change their lives forever. The ember of their hope, though flickering, burned bright, a beacon against the darkness of doubt. Chapter 2: The Fork in the Road. The morning sun, a brilliant, optimistic orb, streamed through the windows of Jack's apartment, casting a warm glow on the half-packed suitcases and the waiting RV parked outside. It was supposed to be a day of excited anticipation, the dawn of their grand adventure. Jack, energized by the promise of the open road, had brewed strong coffee, its aroma filling the small space with a sense of hopeful beginnings. Mandy, her eyes sparkling with excitement, had been double-checking their supplies, a checklist in her hand. Then, the phone rang. A jarring, discordant chime that cut through the cheerful ambience like a knife. Mandy's smile faltered, replaced by a look of growing concern as she listened to the voice on the other end. The color drained from her face, and her hand trembled as she held the phone to her ear. It was her family, a sudden, urgent crisis that demanded her immediate attention. The details were vague, but the tone was undeniable. She was needed, now. The cheerful atmosphere evaporated, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. Jack watched, his heart sinking with each passing moment, as the reality of the situation dawned on him. The tour, their shared dream, the culmination of their hopes and plans, was suddenly teetering on the brink of collapse. I have to go, Mandy said, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and regret. They need me. Jack's heart plummeted. A year, at least, was the projected duration of the tour. A year of endless miles, of unfamiliar towns, of fleeting moments shared with strangers. A year without Mandy. Could their nascent relationship, still fragile and new, withstand such a chasm of time and distance? The question hung in the air, an unspoken dread that filled the room. Mandy, her voice trembling, turned to him, her eyes pleading for understanding. "Maybe it's for the best," she said, her voice a fragile whisper against the impending storm of their shattered plans. "It'll save me from a year of heartbreak, for both of us." Jack, his throat tight with unshed tears, couldn't argue. He understood the weight of family obligations, the inescapable pull of duty. Yet, the thought of parting, of watching her walk away, felt like a cruel twist of fate, a bitter betrayal of their shared dreams. He wanted to protest, to beg her to stay, but the words caught in his throat, trapped by the crushing weight of reality. They exchanged sad goodbyes, a facade of cheerfulness masking the raw pain that gnawed at their hearts. Their smiles were forced, their laughter hollow echoes of the joy they had anticipated. They hugged, a long, lingering embrace that spoke volumes of unspoken emotions. And then, it was over. Mandy walked out the door, leaving behind the empty promise of their adventure. The RV, once a symbol of their future, stood silent and empty in the driveway, a stark reminder of what could have been. The half-packed suitcases, scattered across the apartment floor, looked like abandoned relics of a dream that had died before it could truly begin. The morning sun, once a beacon of hope, now seemed to mock him, a cruel reminder of the bright future that had been snatched away. The silence in the apartment was deafening, a heavy, suffocating blanket that pressed down on Jack, crushing his spirit. He was left alone, adrift in a sea of shattered dreams and unspoken goodbyes, at a fork in the road he never wanted to take. Chapter 3: The Echo of Silence. A year. 12 months, 52 weeks, 365 days. A year that stretched on, a relentless blur of highways, hotel rooms, and the pulsating energy of live performances. Jack's tour, initially a daunting prospect, had become a whirlwind of unexpected success. His band, fueled by his raw, heartfelt lyrics and their infectious melodies, had struck a chord with audiences. Venues, once half-empty, now overflowed with cheering crowds, their voices a roaring wave that washed over him. The music, his passion, had become his lifeline, a way to channel the ache of Mandy's absence into something tangible, something powerful. Each song, each note, was a testament to his resilience, a defiant cry against the silence that had settled in his heart. He'd poured every ounce of his being into his performances, seeking solace in the roar of the crowd, the shared energy of the music. He achieved his goal, the dream that had once seemed so distant. The band's success had provided the financial stability to purchase the RV. It stood now, a gleaming testament to his hard-won triumph, parked behind the venue, a mobile sanctuary that echoed with the ghosts of what could have been. Yet, even amidst the roar of the crowds and the flashing lights of the stage, the silence persisted. The silence of Mandy's absence, the lack of her laughter, her encouraging words, was a constant, gnawing ache. He thought of her often, a ghost in the corners of his mind, a whisper of a memory that refused to fade. He'd replay their conversations, the way her eyes lit up when he spoke about his music, the gentle touch of her hand on his arm. But they hadn't spoken. The wound of their parting was too raw, too painful to reopen. Each day that passed, the silence grew heavier, a tangible barrier between them. She's probably moved on, he reasoned, trying to convince himself, a desperate attempt to shield himself from the pain. She deserves happiness, deserves someone who can be there for her. Yet, the thought of her with someone else twisted his gut with a sharp, unwelcome pang, a possessive jealousy that surprised him. He longed to call, to hear her voice, to know that she was all right. But the fear of what he might find, the fear of confirmation that she had indeed moved on, held him back. He was a prisoner of his own uncertainty, trapped in a self-imposed limbo. He'd scroll through her social media, a digital voyeur, searching for clues, for any sign of a new relationship. But her profile remained unchanged, a collection of old photos and vague updates that offered no answers. The silence on her end mirrored his own, a silent testament to the unspoken pain they both carried. The RV, once a symbol of their shared dreams, now felt like an empty shell, a constant reminder of what he had lost. He'd sit in the driver's seat, his fingers tracing the contours of the steering wheel, imagining her beside him, their laughter filling the space. The echoes of their imagined conversations filled the empty space, a bittersweet symphony of what could have been. The year had been a paradox, a whirlwind of success and a desolate landscape of loneliness. Jack had achieved his dreams, yet the silence of Mandy's absence filled the victory with an emptiness he couldn't shake. Chapter 4: The Serendipitous Encounter. The afternoon sun, filtered through the tall, arched windows of the quaint local bookstore, cast a warm, golden glow on the towering shelves of books. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and the hushed whispers of turning pages, a tranquil sanctuary from the bustling world outside. Jack, seeking a moment of peace and a new read, wandered through the aisles, his fingers trailing along the spines of unfamiliar titles. Then, he saw her. In the far aisle, bathed in the soft, diffused light, stood a figure that was instantly, undeniably, Mandy. Her back was to him, her silhouette instantly recognizable, the gentle curve of her shoulders, the way she tilted her head slightly as she perused the books. His heart lurched, a frantic drumbeat against his ribs, a sudden, violent rhythm that echoed the chaos of his emotions. A wave of emotions crashed over him, a turbulent sea of surprise, longing, and fear. Surprise at the sheer improbability of the encounter, the unexpected collision of their separate worlds. Longing for the familiar warmth of her presence, the sound of her laughter, the touch of her hand. And fear of rejection, fear of the unspoken words that hung between them, fear of disrupting the fragile equilibrium he'd managed to achieve. He froze, his feet rooted to the spot, his breath catching in his throat. He felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to turn and flee, to disappear back into the anonymity of the bookstore. But something, an invisible force, held him captive, compelled him to stay. He had to see her, to speak to her, to know if the connection they'd shared still existed. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the frantic pounding of his heart, and took a tentative step forward. "Mandy," he said, his voice a shaky whisper, barely audible above the hushed whispers of the bookstore. She turned, her eyes widening in recognition, her breath catching in her throat. A soft gasp escaped her lips, a sound that echoed the unspoken emotions that filled the space between them. The air crackled with unspoken words, with the weight of a year's worth of unspoken emotions, a silent testament to the chasm that had separated them. A tentative smile spread across her face, a fragile bloom of hope in the midst of their shared uncertainty. They exchanged awkward greetings, their voices hesitant, their eyes searching for answers in the other's gaze. They set a time for coffee, a tentative reunion, a chance to bridge the chasm that had separated them, to unravel the tangled threads of their shared past. The conversation flowed, a torrent of shared memories and whispered confessions. They talked for hours, the words tumbling out, a release of the unspoken emotions that had been bottled up for so long. They laughed, they cried, they shared the stories of their separate journeys, the triumphs and the heartaches. They discovered that neither had found love in the interim, that their hearts had remained stubbornly loyal to the memory of their brief, intense connection. The spark, thought lost in the ashes of their parting, rekindled with a fierce, undeniable flame. The air crackled with a renewed energy, a sense of destiny fulfilled. It was as if no time had passed at all. Their connection, their bond, was still there, waiting to be rediscovered, a testament to the enduring power of their shared dreams and unspoken love. Chapter 5: The Mountain's Embrace. The coffee shop encounter was a watershed moment, a turning point that shifted their lives back onto a shared trajectory. The rekindled connection blossomed, a vibrant, resilient flower pushing through the cracks of their past. It was a second chance, a testament to a love that had never truly died, merely lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. They moved with a sense of purpose, of destiny, as if the universe itself had orchestrated their reunion. They began to travel together again, the RV their rolling sanctuary, a mobile home that echoed with laughter and shared dreams. The open road, once a symbol of loss and shattered aspirations, transformed into a canvas for their renewed relationship. Each mile was a brushstroke, a testament to their enduring bond, a celebration of their second chance. They explored hidden gems, small-town diners, and breathtaking vistas, their journey a symphony of shared experiences. The RV became a space of creativity. Jack wrote music inspired by the ever-changing landscapes, his melodies infused with the freedom of the open road and the warmth of Mandy's presence. Mandy, in turn, documented their travels, capturing the essence of their journey in photographs and journals, weaving a tapestry of their adventures. The RV became a moving gallery, a testament to their shared passions. They found a rhythm, a harmony in their nomadic existence, but a longing for a more permanent sanctuary began to grow. They craved a place where they could anchor themselves, a haven where they could retreat from the world, yet remain connected to the pulse of life. They found it in the majestic mountains of Montana, a secluded cabin nestled amidst towering pines and snow-capped peaks. The air was crisp and clean, the silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and the calls of birds. It was a place of breathtaking beauty, a sanctuary that resonated with the raw, untamed spirit of their love. The cabin became their haven, a place where they could be alone when they desired, yet remain close enough to a small, vibrant town. Jack built a studio in the loft, a space where he could write his music, inspired by the dramatic landscapes that surrounded him. The mountains became his muse, their grandeur and serenity infusing his melodies with a newfound depth and richness. Mandy transformed the cabin into a home, filling it with warmth and light. She created a garden, a vibrant oasis of flowers and herbs, a testament to her nurturing spirit. She found a local art community and began to work with photography and painting. The cabin became a space where both of their creative passions flourished. They built a life, a testament to the enduring power of love, a symphony of shared dreams and second chances, played against the backdrop of a life lived fully. They found solace in the quiet beauty of their mountain retreat, yet they also embraced the vibrant energy of the nearby town, finding a balance between solitude and connection. They formed deep friendships, became part of the local community, and their story became a local legend, a tale of love's resilience. Their life became a testament to the idea that love, like music, could overcome any obstacle. The cabin, their rolling sanctuary, and the open road, all became symbols of their journey, a journey marked by second chances, enduring love, and the profound beauty of a life lived on their own terms.